So the first way of, making your assets is just after we did our reference research, obviously we had a lot of ideas, and then you take one of your references and you try to remodel that. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Obviously you don't always have to be as precise as possible, but it's just a thing that I usually do. I just, at this point in the modeling process or in the image making, I like to take my time and just start modeling everything out and try to be as precise as I can. And again, this is just using the basic tools in Blender, like invert, extrude, boolean, all the basic stuff. And as you can see, I have like two of the references behind the model just to look at it and see how it looks like and be as precise as possible and close to the reference itself. So here's something that happens usually is when you extrude or invert or outvert, it kind of, sometimes the model looks like it's inverted. So all you have to do is you just go to object, and then you go to normal, and then you do flip normal, and then it becomes normal again. And of course, there's multiple ways of, modeling something or handle modeling. And there's like a shit ton of videos online that shows you great ways of approaching modeling your assets. It's just, this is one of the ways that I'm showing you right now. And later on, we'll be making use of Jama's tool called QuickShape to get out the forms by using a existing texture that I found online of a radio. So we have the door part done right now, and I'm going to move on to the inner side of the model. I'm just looking at the sides there, and it's kind of having an opening, circular opening, so I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to approach that. Again, as you can see, like there's a lot of add-ons online, especially for Blender lately, because it's so popular that, there's multiple ways of approaching this, but I just like to show you guys the basic way of doing it, which is just modeling traditionally. And then after that, we have different ways of approaching for collecting your assets for your scene before we start putting everything in the scene itself. A cool thing about modeling stuff like this is you just save it up and, reuse it later for another image that you might do, which maybe is in the same world or in the same vein as the image that you're making right now. As you notice, there's always the same approach. I insert a flat plane and I start to cut in the forms. And then after that, I extrude everything in the edit mode. And at the end of the day, it's all box forms or circular forms, or you just have to break it down in your own head and not be distracted by all the noise and detailing in the reference image itself. Because, if I put this in my scene, it's going to look so small that it doesn't really affect it if I really take the time to model everything out. And right now we start the second way of modeling something, which is using the tool QuickShape. And what I love about this tool is I don't really have to be precise. It's just, straight off the bat, you carve out the forms that you want. And then after that, you can play around with it. You can adjust it the way you want. Because even for the radio, like I said before, it's going to be so small in my scene. It doesn't really matter if I be super precise or not, because at the end of the day, we're just designing light and we're designing shapes to see how the light is interacting with the shape itself. And just like that, I'm just blocking out the shape. And as you may notice, I'm not as precise as I did with the last modeling. It's just, I'm trying to do it as quick as possible just to save myself time as well. If you really want to go in depth on this tool, I recommend everybody to check out Jama's tutorials or Gumroad's. He explains it beautifully. And as you noticed, even the perspective of the radio is maybe not as precise, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, when the light is hitting it or is somewhere in the shadows, we won't notice all these small mistakes within our model. And here I'm just trying to add some diversity to the buttons. And this is what I love about texturing like this is you just go into the UV editing and you just take the parts that you didn't like and you press U again, and then you just place them within the texture itself to an area where it doesn't have any noise, so that it still has the same color variation and the same values. This took me somewhere around like 12 to 13 minutes. I just sped it up for you guys because we talked about this earlier. Just trying out, see if maybe I can use the same texture on the bump map, see how that looks like. Playing around with the roughness, notice that it doesn't do anything for it, so I'm just like, let's just delete it later. Yeah. So I made a second material. I copied the first one and I put a glass shader on it, and then in the roughness I had this imperfected texture from Megascans, and I put that in the roughness, and all of a sudden we have dirt and scratches and stuff. And again, a tutorial is not always about doing it exactly like the artist. It's just looking at him, see how he figures out a problem, and see how you can figure out your own problem by, taking notes of his process. And yeah, check it out. That's it. I noticed the backside is the same. So what I did is just take the whole backside and then put it on like a blank slate of the texture. Yep, that's it. So let's say you have like a day or two to come up with your scene, right, for your client, and you don't have much time to model out every single prop in your scene. So what I usually do then is just, I take it just like reference research. I take my time online to find some workable, usable models, like on this website called sketchfab.com or 3dsky.org or turbosquid.com. And like most of them I pay, or some of them is also just downloadable where you can just use it. Let's say we type in military, what do we get? Something usable like this. military truck, and you can just download the 3D model. It's already textured and everything. And all you have to do is just put it in your scene and then, adjust the textures if needed. And, and for this, I hope everybody will handle this wisely and not abuse it. And the cool thing about Sketchfab actually is they have a plugin in Blender. It's called the Sketchfab plugin. You can find it online. It's free. So check this out, right? If I type in military in this part and I check out what they have here, right? Let's say you want to have this military ambulance. All you do is import the model. And there you go. We have our already textured ambulance. And the cool thing about this is obviously, like I said before, it's already textured. And you can just adjust the textures if you want. You can, play around with it. You can change the colors maybe in Photoshop or whatnot. But yeah, it just saves me a lot of time, figuring out or trying to model every single small component in my scene. Like, let's say I want to have like a sofa. I'm not gonna model a sofa every single time that I need it in my scene. So just go to websites like this, and on 3D Sky, I think if you can, let me check my profile. I think you can have like 30 models a day. If you pay like $18 a month, you can have 30 of the free models, and it's already textured and everything, like this chair or something. You just download it, you press it, you see it's for 3ds Max 2014 and OBJ, and it has the textures and everything. All you need to do is just download it and then put it in your scene, and that's it. Just a quick way of saving you a lot of time and effort.